Well, hello everybody. Blair Nightingale here. Happy to see you guys once again this Thursday evening. This is Stock Talk Thursday, your one-stop stock shop on Thursday nights, where I'm going to come in. I'm going to show you some things in the market tonight. What happened today? It's been actually kind of a wild week, right? Markets are always moving. Things are always happening. There's always something to look at, but we've had some volatility, right? We've had some movement in the indexes. You may have heard, you may have watched, you may have seen, you may have traded. And if you did, then you felt it because the markets have been volatile. They've been moving this week. And I want to help bring you up to speed as we get to the end of the trading week. One more day tomorrow, of course, the markets will be open where you and I can get some clarity on what is going on here. What is going on in the markets? I want to cover a bit of that. Of course, always here on Stock Talk Thursday, we're looking at something hot, something not. And what is this main news item? What's the main thing I want to focus on? News does drive the markets. Here at Tradeway, we want to look at the price first. What's happening on the stock chart? I'm going to bring up some charts in just a moment for you to look at and follow along with me. But we still look at the news. We still want to see what's going on in the news. Of course, there's always a lot of news out there. So how can we pare that down and make it very simple so that we have one thing in mind as traders? And remember, I'm always coming from the perspective of a stock trader. You and I, using the technology and the access we have to the US stock markets here today in 2021 on our laptops, on our phone, with incredible competition in this industry, it's become easier than it has ever been, less expensive than it has ever been to have the tools necessary to be a stock trader. Lots of people looking for other ways to start a business, make some extra money, maybe replace income, whatever the financial goal is. There is an opportunity in stock trading. And here at Tradeway, we want to help you learn how to do that. But it's important that I tell you that we are looking at stock trading, not just long-term buy and hold investing, okay? Two different skill sets. Same umbrella, if you will, right? They're in the same family, but they're not the exact same thing. The disciplines from one to the other are different. And I say that because we have new people with us all the time. And it's important that we understand the difference. Here at Tradeway, we talk about swing trading is what we call it. Swing trading, we're really looking at about 2 to 3 days to about 2 to 3 weeks, okay? That's the time frame of getting in and out of a position or a trade. And that is important to remember. So when I talk hot or not, we're not necessarily looking at the long term and even the news. We're not necessarily looking at what is the long-term news as much as what's affecting the markets right now. And for you as a trader, what is something that you need to know? Mark, I see you there. I'm going to pop this up on the screen. If you are with us today and you want to say hi, drop a comment in, ask a question, anything you want, you can go ahead through the duration of the broadcast, pop that into the comment section, whether you're joining us on YouTube like Mark, Facebook. Some of you are going to be joining there. Some of you are going to be joining us after the broadcast is done and we're no longer live. You can always post at that point as well. And my team will get that, pass it on to me, make sure your questions get answered. Mark joining us from Missouri today. You're on the go. Here we are. We're here on Thursday, regardless of where you are. Hopefully going to get you some quality information today, right? That really lands and connects. I think what we got for you is going to do just that. So the first thing we want to do, let's go ahead and pull up the market, right? Let's pull up the screen. So this is one of the benefits of coming in and joining us on YouTube. On Monday, I'm here at 6 p.m. on Monday, or here Thursday night, right? You're going to get some insight in the market. Now, our students in our programs, they get access to this stuff all the time. But this is a connection point for you and I to take a look and get an idea of what's actually going on. Because I told you, the markets are moving. They're always moving, right? That's not unique. That's not different. But there's volatility. They're dropping. And that creates a lot of emotion. So there's a lot of things to go over here. Like I said, Stock Talk Thursday, we're always looking at what's hot, what's not, and what's that news item. And sometimes those kind of blend over, right? Sometimes the biggest news item out there that you should pay attention to and cut out all the other noise. There's so much noise, so much financial news, so many things, so many articles, so many sources, right? It just sounds stressful even saying it like that. it's nice to just pare it down and get some focus, okay? But the first thing I would say is the knot. This week we're starting with the knot. And the knot is right in front of you right now on the screen, okay? The overall indexes, they're not hot, okay? They're not hot, and that just gives us context to talk about them a little bit. I have some specific stocks I want to show you as well that it got pretty consistently hammered across their sector today. But the overall market as a whole, we have to understand, everybody, this is one of the big things I want to say to you today. The stock market, like, the economic cycle, right? Our economy, you don't have to know a lot about economics to trade stocks. I didn't know anything about economics, okay? You do not need to know all the ratios and numbers and formulas, and that's not necessary. That's not necessary. And when we teach you the tradeway system, you'll see it really doesn't have a whole lot to do with it. It really does not. It's not something that is required for you to be able to trade stocks. But one thing I would say about the economic cycle, and this is something David Mitchell, our founder and CEO here at Tradeway, taught me, is that, it's like the weather. Economies move in cycles. And that means that seasons change, right? There's a change of seasons. Here in Texas, it likes to hold on to summer a lot longer than a lot of other places I've lived, right? I lived in the second sunniest place in America, in Northern California, and they gave up on summer quicker and sooner than Texas does. So it doesn't all happen as predictably as maybe we would like, but the seasons do change. It's the same thing in the market. It's the same thing in the stock market. Seasons change. Guys, we have had a rip-roaring bull market for a long time. Look at how far I'm zooming out. That's the drop from COVID there in the bottom right-hand corner. Our economy, and I've said this on here multiple times. Look at this. Let's go ahead and delete this blue line here. This blue line down here, okay? That was the peak before COVID hit, okay? It only took a few months for the drop from COVID to be completely recovered and honestly left in the dust. This pre-COVID level here, remember our economy, we had some of the lowest unemployment we've ever had. It was one of the best economies we've ever had. And then COVID hit, and then it absolutely blasted off past that and never really looked back. So the question is, are stock evaluations really where they should be compared to how we're really doing as an economy, compared to how companies are really doing right now? Well, that's a conversation perhaps for another time. But the point is that we've been in a season where the market has just wanted to go up, 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 up. And every time it has done even a fairly minor drawdown, right? A fairly minor drop, the bulls have been there to buy the dip immediately and drive the price back up, back up, back up. Well, it's interesting today, something we haven't done in a long time. Now, I'm just going to let you guys look at this visually, okay? We actually closed below the 100-day moving average, which is simply what it sounds like. It's a moving average. That red line you see on the screen just gives us a visual representation of the last 100 days of price, and it plots it every day, resulting in a red line. I've colored it red. It doesn't have to be red. Mine is red. Well, we haven't been below that for almost an entire year, October 30th, 2020. And even then, we were only below it for a day before it absolutely shot back up into the pattern that it was in. Will we see that tomorrow or over the course of the next week? I don't know. I'm not speculating on that today, but I'm telling you, we were just here not too long ago, and now we failed to recover and are back below the 100-day moving average. When the S&P 500 is below the 100-day moving average, that is not hot, right? That is not hot. That's a time where we ought to be paying attention, right? If if we have trades, are a trader, are looking to open trades, and we do not have the skill sets where we can use options, then it is a time to be cautious, right? It's a time to be cautious because it is bearish. Okay, I'm not saying that we're about to go into a full-blown bear market. It takes a lot of things to line up for that to really be catalytic to take us in that direction. But we could see some deeper, choppier movement from here just based on the screen we're looking at right now, where we're sitting below a key level, 100-day moving average. We haven't really broke the 50-day moving average for some time. And here we are now, second time in just a couple of weeks, closing convincingly below the 50 and the 100-day moving average. You'll notice the last thing I'll say here is that stocks don't tend to, and this is something I find amazing, stocks don't tend to just bounce for no reason. They don't tend to just turn around for no reason at any point. It's not as random as some people would tell you or like you to believe that the stock market is. Notice how today the price closed almost exactly at the same low, see that dotted red line, that we had just a couple of weeks back, right? Notice how in the previous history here, the stock market, this pattern, it just comes down to the same level over and over and over and over again. And if I was really saying it, over and over and over and over and over again. Okay? It doesn't do it forever, but it repeats itself a lot. That's a pattern. We are seeing the market stop right at that level. Is that going to hold? Is that going to be something we can trust? Well, we're going to wait. We're going to talk about it tomorrow morning in our programs here at Tradeway. People are going to be able to make decisions. Now, I mentioned for some of you guys, if you don't have the ability to trade options, you don't know how to do that. Maybe you don't know what an option is even yet. Options are an amazing tool that you and I can use where we can get into the market and potentially profit when the stock is moving down. This is called a put option. Okay, this is just one kind of option, but this is a put option. This gives us some flexibility. We even have some things that we can do with options where we don't even need the stock to move in our direction. You say, I don't understand that. The stock has to move for me to make money, right? Not in this situation. We can show you how you could potentially profit if the stock goes sideways or goes up or goes a little bit down. It doesn't have to move your direction for you to stand to profit on that trade. That is the potential of options. So there's a whole other world. If there's people out there today and you're saying, I'm really interested in really learning how to do this, and I've got some aggressive financial goals, I feel like this is the time, this is the season. I really need to be learning how to move forward in this stuff. That's what we're here at Tradeway to help you do. That's what we exist to do. And when we see things like this in the market, I see opportunities. I see opportunities, whether the stock market is moving up or the stock market is moving down. I see opportunities for our students. The question is, do you know how to tap into those opportunities, right? Do you know how to approach them in a safe manner? And of course, over time, working towards being consistent as traders. So the market definitely not showing us hot right now. I'm going to show you one more here too. We got to jump over to the NASDAQ, another index. This one actually lower than the previous low. Notice that right there, right? A couple weeks ago, that's the same day as what we were looking at on the S&P 500, except we're convincingly below that and the 100-day moving average now. So the NASDAQ breaking down into some lower levels. If we continue to see things looking really soft over here on the NASDAQ, I suspect we're going to see more downside as well in the S&P 500. The two are distinct in many ways, but you see a lot of correlation there, and I would suspect that if we see a deep sell-off over here in the NASDAQ and a lot of these tech stocks, we're going to see continued volatility in the S&P 500. I see we may have some questions here. Ruben says, hey, Blair, looking forward for a great teaching experience. Glad to have you here, Ruben. Appreciate you being on. Mark says, I'm relatively new to trading. Looks like a kiss goodbye. I would say you are correct. And I know you were referring to this chart over here. Some of you out there are saying, I don't know what a kiss goodbye is. What does that even mean? In our course, we are going to teach you patterns. What are patterns? They're just prices that repeat themselves, right? When we see a pattern in something, It's the fact that we're noticing, hey, it's doing the same thing repeatedly. Well, if you could notice patterns in price, okay, patterns, that's what we're looking at on the screen right now is price. If you could notice patterns in the price, could you take advantage of those patterns should they continue to repeat over and over and over? Like I said earlier, of course you could. Of course you could. You could take advantage of that. Well, that's what we're going to teach you to do. The first thing we're going to do is teach you the patterns, okay? And what Mark's referring to is the name, A Kiss Goodbye, of one of those patterns, okay? They're already looking at you when you're looking at the screen. We just have to show you some things. We just have to show you how you can recognize them. Once you can recognize them, right, it's almost like your eyes are open. They're right in front of you, even though they've been there the whole time. And that is a perfect description of the stock market in our lives right now. Listen, I've been telling people all year, it's 2021. It is not this, niche, peripheral, weird side hustle thing to trade stocks. That is old news. Some of you guys have been trading stocks for a long time. But this idea that it's on the fringe, that it's on the outside is quickly washing away. Many people who've never invested, never traded stocks are looking to be trained to trade in the stock market with uncertainty, with COVID, with vaccine mandates, with technology, all kinds of stuff. Just a reality of our world, right? I'm not making a political statement. I'm simply saying the reality of our world, people are looking for alternative options, alternative things. And the stock market is something that we have access to because of technology like never before. So that is something people are learning to do. And one of the main things is teaching you how to use those patterns. So I hear what you're saying there, Mark. Absolutely true. There is a Kiss Goodbye on the screen. And we'll give you some options on how you can learn some of that stuff before we wrap up today, as we always do. That's the S&P 500, ticker SPX, okay? SPX. Now, I want to show you this. Let's just take a second here. And I've just flipped my watch list, okay? All I did was flip my watch list so that in this particular watch list, the stocks that are not performing well today are now on the top. So this is what we're looking at here. So I'm just going to go a few tickers down. This was big in the news today, and I'm not necessarily going to give a rundown of the news on every one of these, but I want to show you this. Look at this. Bed Bath & Beyond, retail, okay, had earnings way down. Party City, oof, look at that guy, way down, okay, 15% on the stock today. Okay, Dillard's, department store, retail, $30, 14% down. CarMax, retail. Kohl's, retail. Okay, Children's Place, retail. What's happening here? Nordstrom, retail. Fossil, retail. Macy's, retail. Gap. I haven't pre-organized this list, right? This list contains these tickers. It contains a lot of other industries as well, but these all got hammered today. Now, look at Gap. This stock is in a specific pattern that we call a downtrend. It's simply moving down, lower highs, lower lows every time. It just made a new low today, right? Not an all-time low, but a low in this pattern. And this is also retail. And it just goes on. Abercrombie & Fitch, big sell-off. Signet Jewelers. So I think I've made the point. Retail right now getting killed. The question is, what's going on, right? Could I potentially be looking at some short opportunities with options, right? Tradeway doesn't teach shorting stocks. For those of you who know what that is, we teach a safer way of doing that in options, learning how to do it properly, right? But that could give you some potential shorting opportunities when you look at an industry that is very weak, very weak. Well, that's what we're looking at here. So in an industry that's not so hot, doesn't mean there's not opportunities if we've got the right skill sets. That being said, I looked into this a little bit. We're looking at retail coming into the holiday season, right? We're coming around to Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, my favorite time of year personally. And there's a lot of problems with supply right now. Supply chains are really struggling. There's a lot going on in the world right now. And It is really hurting some of these companies. The main thing I want you to see is across the board, these prices really just getting smashed today. And the one we're stopped on right now, Signet Jewelers, also has a pattern, right? There is a pattern on the screen right now that signifies for us bearish movement, meaning down, moving down. The patterns they're not a crystal ball. They don't guarantee that the stock will do what we want it to do, but they give us a strong indication where something is more likely to happen than something else. So some patterns give me a stronger indication, or they tell me it's more likely the stock is going to go down than up. And that is what we learn to do in trading. That's why this is not guessing, gambling, or going for it. I say that all the time, but how? How is it not guessing, gambling, or going for it? On Monday night, we talked about having a plan. Having a plan. That's one way we get the guess, gamble, and go for it out of the mix. Patterns is another way to do that. And again, I'm looking at one on the screen right now. It's looking at you too. We just have to teach you how to recognize those patterns, okay? That's retail. Retail, I just thought that was interesting on top of what's happening in the markets. Retail getting killed. Now, on that note, let me go ahead and jump over to a hot stock. A hot stock. Now, this is a little bit interesting, okay? I want to make sure we don't have any other questions popping in here. This is a little bit interesting because you know what's interesting? This is interesting. You know what's interesting about this? It's in a pattern. It's in a nice pattern. And despite the volatility in the market right now, it hasn't broken that pattern. Not yet. What's particularly unique here is that, this is falling. The stock is falling. You say, Blair, how's that a hot stock? The stock is actually falling. Well, did you know what I said about economic cycles? You know what economic cycles on the big scale, the macro scale, right? They reset prices. Things reset. It's like the seasons, right? Spring, things really spring forth. They burst forth. There's a lot of growth, right? There's a reset that happens. This happens with prices too. But on a smaller scale, look here on this chart, Carnival Cruise Lines. Now, we could say a bunch of things about travel and COVID and cruise lines and airlines and all that kind of stuff. But let's strip that away for a second and just say, you know what? Let's just use my eyes. Let's just use my eyes and look at the screen. Just look at the pattern. Forget all that other stuff for a while, okay? Just look at the pattern. When it hits support and begins to move up, that can be a buying opportunity. Given what I've already done on this chart, because I've learned how to do it, I drew lines on a specific pattern. I can go in and say, okay, I just need to wait for it to hit that line, and then I may have a buying opportunity. Okay, I'm not saying go buy Carnival Cruise Lines right now, but I'm saying I just use my eyes to do that. I'm not looking at ratios and economics and earnings reports and debt ratios, et cetera, all that stuff. Listen, guys, you don't need that. You don't need that. That's what we do here at Tradeway. You don't need to know all that stuff. And this one is on my hot list today because even though there is a reset happening, which is why it's falling. When it hits this top line, what did it do here? It fell. When it hits this line, what did it do here? It fell. What did it do here? Same thing. It fell. And I actually looked up this earnings date. It was not today. It was on the 24th. It was actually on this day right here. So today was not actually earnings. But even in earnings, it stayed in the pattern. And now we need to be patient and see, does it make it back down to the floor? Okay. In the midst of chaos, in the midst of unpredictability, in the midst of volatility, you know what can really help us clarify? Patterns. Find a good pattern. Find a good pattern and then be patient enough to wait for the right time. You say, Blair, what's the right time? That's exactly what we're going to teach you, right? That is what we teach you. We've got what we call the three-legged trading table. What to trade, when to trade, why to trade. That's what we want to teach you how to do. But this one, for that reason, goes on my hot list today. Because remember, I'm not a fundamental long-term buy and hold investor. I'm a short-term trader. I'm looking for opportunities to take advantage of price 2 days to 2 weeks, 3 days to 3 weeks, and I'm out. And that's it, right? In out. That's it. I do not have a position in Carnival Cruise Lines. I'm not saying I am in a position in Carnival Cruise Lines. I'm saying that's the kind of thing I am looking for. Okay. So that is why that one is on my list. I love it. All right, let's keep moving on because I said stock talk. We got hot, we got not, we got news. All right. We got to wrap this up in 4 minutes here on Stock Talk. So, what's the big thing this week? Well, today, Congress passed the bill to fund the government, right? We avoided a government shutdown, but we did not yet actually raise the debt ceiling. It seems like this comes up pretty often, doesn't it, right? We need to actually see the government, Congress, come to such an agreement where they're going to raise the debt ceiling. Anything like that tends to put pressure on us economically, that's going to be a pretty big deal. So we'll have to keep an eye on that with Wall Street, see how do they really react to government news, if it seems like that's going to be delayed, if it seems like it's going to get done. After a big drop like we saw these last few days, Wall Street might be looking for some good news to just latch onto and buy some stocks. We'll let the chart tell us. We don't need to guess. If they don't buy, then we know they're not buying, right? If they buy, great. Once it starts to move up, then we have some confirmation. We can wait and let them play their cards, show us what they want to do. That's a benefit we have as retail traders. We don't have to trade. We don't have to do something. We can watch and see what those big money players are doing, and then we can follow them. That's part of the system that we teach you how to use as well. But I would say when it comes to debt ceiling, that's probably going to be something that is front and center over the next 4 or 5 trading days, unless they get some resolution there. I would also say this last thing tonight. Let's go back to this chart. Even though this isn't necessarily going to be something you're seeing in the news per se, this 100-day moving average, okay, right there. Are we below it or above it? Listen, if we're below it, then things are going to be bumpy. That's pretty bearish. If tomorrow the market opens and it's able to claw its way or maybe convincingly shoot back above that line, okay, that's a good bullish signal, right? We're holding above a key level. That's the 100-day moving average. So I'm going to keep that in mind, given that we've actually only just matched this low right here. So that's the thing to watch for tomorrow in the coming trading days. And I think that pretty much equips us to look at what we need to know for tomorrow. Appreciate you guys being on here. I am literally going to run from this broadcast to jump over into one of our programs with our students. Remember, you can always go to tradeway.com, right there on the main page. Step 1, start your journey. You can join in. You can get into a 2-day Friday, Saturday class with us, less than $100. Hey, what's an investment of less than $100 with a money back guarantee into your financial future if you don't know how to do any of this stuff yet, right? I would say a pretty safe one, right? That's a little bit low risk in my opinion. Not learning how to navigate this stuff, even just with your financial advisor, that sounds pretty high risk to me. So head on over to tradeway.com, join the Step 1, start your journey there. If you haven't, if you're interested in learning options, you can always email us, support@tradeway.com, support@tradeway.com. Site Stock Talk Thursday, Blair Nightingale. I'd be happy to reach out to you and answer your questions and help you with that. Okay. Teresa says, I always enjoy these stock talks. I appreciate that, Teresa. I'm glad to hear that. You know, I don't always know exactly where each of our students are at that join us here. I know we've got some folks that are brand new, some that have been around a little while, vets, you might even be able to say, but it's always an encouragement to me to hear from you guys on what you're getting out of it and what you're learning. So I appreciate you. Thanks so much. I think it's a good time to really understand what's going on in the market. So if you're not in, get plugged in, and we will see you guys next time. Thanks so much, and good night.